Okay, so let's take a look at chapter one and what you'll be doing this week. We have at the top, this is a typical layout of what you'll see each week. Be a little bit different next week when we have full programming assignments. This week is set up to be mainly kind of a little bit of review at the beginning and then an overview of the interface in Visual Studio and a short little introduction into using Visual Basic and what some of the basic things are that you're going to see. So we start out with an activities video, which is of course this, and then we have this PowerPoint, and I put the PowerPoints that come from the publisher, and I dump those in here. I know some people like to use them. I don't add a whole lot to them. I'll add links to the videos, and sometimes I'll put in a few little things. But I know some people don't really use these at all. They'll just use the book, and then other people really like to go step by step. If you're coming from one of my other classes, if you're coming from like, well, let's say C++, I use those PowerPoints to dump a lot of code and links to things and all sorts of stuff. I don't do that so much with Visual Basic, and you'll see why it doesn't necessarily work the same way. But anyway, those are available. I have a little bit different layout for chapter one than what the author has, and so I want to go over that with you just really quickly. You'll see the way that I'm starting out. You can see page 20 on here, and so for this video on page 20, what I'd like you to do, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up the e-textbook here real quick. Um, Maybe if I hit the right button. There we go. And so we have the e-text here, and for this, you can see it here on my chapter one. And if I was to just scroll through, this is just really simple stuff. Most of you, this isn't your first, computer class, but there's a little bit of review at the beginning. And so, I've got some little review here, and then it builds into, some terminology and, a few different things as you look into, programming languages. And then you'll see, kind of here we talk about keywords and operators. And so anyway, so as you step through here, you'll see this should be a review for most of you. If not, take a look at these, and we'll use these as we, go through the different chapters. You'll see these words over and over again. But for now, we'll just kind of start rolling with this. When you get to page 8, here's what I'd like you to do. When you get to page 8, here we have graphical user interfaces. So what I would like you to do is then go ahead and skip to page 20. We're going to come back to this section. So if I just skip over there really quickly, I'm going to go down to this part that says Visual Studio. All right, and this section starts out with a video here. I'm starting Visual Studio, setting up the environment, and then it walks through some different screenshots, and it'll talk about setting defaults. There's little things in here that you'll want to be able to do. Okay, so and this just kind of rolls right through. And when you get through down to the end, you'll see that'll be a good time for you to go ahead and go back to this other section. So I'm going to click back over here. Hang on a sec. So here we go, page 20, 24, 33, and then eventually you'll head back to page 9 where that GUI interfaces was, and there's that little section, and there's a video on forms, controls, and properties, and then event-driven programming back on page 10, and step through the rest of it until you get to page back where we started on page 20. And the reason why I do this is because if you notice, oops, if you notice over here, we're walking through and setting things up, but then if I go back to where we left off, kind of with uh, with this section here, it's actually going to walk you through using a program. Okay, so you're going to load it in. You're going to go ahead and get this. They're going to say, hey, look at all these little things in here. This is what this is. This is what it is. I think it makes more sense to you if you've gone through that second part of the chapter, the second half of the chapter, and then come back to this. It makes more sense, I think. And you're hopefully able to navigate through, Visual Studio a little bit better. Okay, so I highly recommend doing that. That's, I think, the best way to go through the chapter, get the most out of it. All right, so I've also in here made a little video called how to use the sample programs. So just to get them open and playing with them, and you'll have these files that come from the download, but you don't actually get to they don't really tell you how to get them open or anything like that. Okay, so you have to unzip them. And notice from the first little section, we had this little download here. So student source code. So all the chapters are in there. So you'll download it. You'll use extract all to unzip, and then you'll have a folder that you then will be able to play with. So that's where this video comes in here. So how to use the sample programs, and there's a little bit more to in that video, so you can check that out. And then anyway, the other videos that you'll see in here are from the author, and you'll notice as he goes through the textbook and the videos in here. Kip is our co-author. Those of you that are familiar with Tony Gaddis and his videos, he doesn't do the videos in this one. Kip does. So you'll see his videos, and the screenshots from the book are all from an older version of Visual Studio. So there are a few things that are different. We're using the most recent one. But since they have a little bit older one, there are a few things that are different along the way. I put a couple things in here that are different in these videos. Like for example, from this video, one of the things he talks about with locations, there's a new menu option under projects and solutions. So if I just show you that really quickly and pull this up here. So if I go over here and I go to tools and I go to options, brings up this little section here under this menu. So we go to projects and solutions. When you open that up, there's locations here, and you can see that's the section he's talking about. Okay, so this is where you can customize where your projects are located. I use a custom file location so that everything is in my same CIS60 file for everything that I do. So I just have a separate working files section in there. Remember that if you do blow up your any programs you're working on that have come from the downloads, that you can just go in and download that file again. So not too big a deal if something blows up in there. The other thing that's different from this video you'll see is this. So creating a new project. So here's kind of the little steps to do that and to show you. So you go File, New Project, and then you have to pick this Windows Form App.NET Framework. And to get to that, which is the one that he describes in there, is, let me go back over here. So I go File. I'm going to go down to New Project and select that. And it brings up these options, and they all look pretty similar, but the one you want is down here. So I think, at least on mine, it's the fourth option here. And it says Windows Forms App, .NET Framework, project for creating application with a Windows Forms, WinForms user interface. And you click Next. And this is where you would give it a name, so whatever name you're going to use there, and it will put it, here's your location folder, whatever you have in that default. We want to create a new solution. So all these things should be set the same. I typically they don't in the sample, but and in the student directories, they don't include this as stuff that you downloaded. But I typically like to place the solution and the project in the same directory. So you might check that box. Helps simplify the directory a little bit, throws them all into, throws the project file itself into the same folder as the project. So I kind of like that. Prevents me from having to, I guess, double click on another directory as I'm going through. So anyway, so I like that option and I use that. When you click create it, it goes through and does it that way. So you're good. Let's see. So if you have the other video shows you kind of walking through this stuff and how to use the sample files and how to get things open in here and get an executable. You'll use this build. And like for this one, it's controls demo is the file I'm using, the solution file I'm using. So anyway, so build controls demo, or if you want to do it live in the program, you'll see in the other video, this will make more sense after you check that out. You can also just click start right here and I'll do live in the program and give you the window to mess with. So anyway, so there's that. Let's see. So let's take a look as you scroll down through here. So those things are different. We've already talked about, these videos here from the author, going back and walking through each one of these, lets you play along with the files as you're going through it. And then when you get to the end, you'll see this on page 40. This is a problem for you to work on just with the video. And I thought this one would be a good idea for you to mess around with. And if we take a look at it really quickly, I can show you. Let's go back over here. And it should be, okay, I'm losing my mind here. Hang on, sorry. I'm going to go down here. Programming challenges at the back of the chapter. These are the ones that we'll use. So at the end of these chapters, you'll have a summary, key terms review, and then you'll see a section that says programming challenges. And so let me open this up, and this video goes to Programming Challenge 3. So it's just going to say, hey, go ahead and design this and follow the video to, this would be how you might set up sales tax. Remember when they're doing this, there's no one right way, but the author is going to show you different techniques and different tools that you can play with, and he'll always show you. It's usually Kip, and he'll always show you, one at least one way of doing it. But as you build, your little directory of tools that you have, and things that you can call on that to use, you'll see there's lots of different ways of doing things. Okay, so let me jump back over here really quick, just one last time here. And for this chapter, you'll see really the only assignment that you have to turn in is the My Programming Lab stuff. And for My Programming Lab, we have some little assignments in there that you'll do. Remember that when you are doing your My Programming Lab assignments, you don't turn anything into Canvas. You do everything through the My Programming Lab site, sorry, and then I go in after the due date and look at things and then come back and put the grade into Canvas. So you don't actually turn anything in for this, and you're not actually turning anything in for these or like for this particular programming challenge. You will from now on, but for this week, you're just following along with this and seeing if you can understand what he's talking about, and you'll play with Visual Studio along the way in here in Visual Basic. So anyway, so don't, even though you're not necessarily turning anything in for this stuff, don't skip this section, okay, this chapter. There are a lot of important things for you to go through. Make sure you take your time and go through these things, and then just get this done, this My Programming Lab piece done before next Sunday. So anyway, so there's that. And then next week we'll start chapter 2, in which we jump right into creating your own programs, and you'll see it's pretty fun. All right, so if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, make sure you watch these videos this week and to give you a better handle on things. Thanks.